to you with the evening news rundown for your Friday, June 19th, aka Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth for those celebrating it. And thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. As always, we'd like to start the show with the latest COVID-19 reports in terms of new cases and deaths globally here in the United States and here in the state of Florida. So according to the World Health Organization, the newest report is over 8.3 million confirmed cases and over 450,000 confirmed deaths. In the United States, according to Johns Hopkins University, we're seeing over 2.2 million confirmed cases and closing in on 119,000 confirmed deaths. Now, here in the state of Florida, according to the Florida Department of Health's dashboard, we're seeing over 89,000 confirmed cases and over 3,100 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping into our world story as it relates to COVID-19, India is seeing a record high in daily confirmed cases, much like you heard us report on here in the United States and in other countries as well. But as of right now, India is looking at over 12,800 cases, closing in on 13,000 new infections registered, which is well over their total. Of course, it's more than their overall total death toll, which was over 12,000. As of right now, their total number of new cases, like altogether since the pandemic began in the nation, is over 160,000. So it's been pretty dire. Of course, the numbers are alarming for us, but we do have to make sure we put it against the backdrop of their total population of 1.4 billion people. So obviously, this is something that's striking them in a very dire way. Right now, hospitals in their biggest cities, Mumbai and New Delhi, are overflowing. So they're out of space. As of right now, unfortunately, there have been reports of folks unfortunately passing away while in parking lots of hospitals and healthcare facilities that are waiting on aid and couldn't quite receive it. India has about one doctor per 1,500 citizens. The World Health Organization recommends that the standard is one doctor per 1,000 residents. So right away, you see the overages there. And in rural areas where 2/3 of Indians live, they rely almost solely on government hospitals. And right now, the ratio in the rural areas is one doctor to more than 10,000 people. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on the state of things there. As of right now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is refuting any reports that there's going to be another nationwide lockdown. And he's been, speaking with his chief ministers that they need to minimize restrictions in their states, but he wants to make clear that there will be no more nationwide lockdowns. However, several chief ministers have been using that latitude to instill another lockdown. The southern state of Tamil Nadu, as of right now, they've imposed a fresh 12-day lockdown, and that started on Monday. So obviously, it's been a week long so far. Nationwide, schools remain closed, and international air travel has stopped, much like you heard us report with regards to Beijing and their airports halting all of their travel. So jumping over here to the United States as it relates to COVID-19, California is the next state that has experienced more increases in their cases. So Governor Gavin Newsom has mandated statewide masks. So everyone in the state of California will be required to wear masks when they venture out into the public. There are a few exceptions. And those exceptions include dining, drinking, and participating in outdoor athletic activity, as long as there's a distance of about 6 feet. Now, the requirement was already in place in two of California's largest counties, Los Angeles and San Diego counties, but now it's statewide. So the California Department of Public Health on Wednesday, they reported over 3,400 daily, new confirmed cases. And right now, the total in the state is over 157,000 and over 5,200 confirmed deaths. So Governor Newsom wants to keep the state open, but he wants to continue to keep things safe. And he was citing science when he said, the face coverings and masks seem to work while keeping folks safe, while giving California the chance to revive its economy. Now, jumping down to the state of Florida, you'll hear something very similar here, specifically in Orange County. Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings announced during a press conference yesterday and has signed an executive order mandating Orange County residents to wear masks anywhere in public. There was no exception with his. As long as you're in public, a face covering is required. Now, Mayor Demings mentioned that he is not going to enforce this, so there won't be any kind of law enforcement involved in, catching you and saying you have to wear your mask. But the executive order goes into effect at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday, June 20th. So if you're in Orange County and you're planning to venture out, just make sure your face is covered. And we here at Florida National News always make sure to remind you guys of that. Continue to stay safe. Wear your mask, wear your gloves, carry your hand sanitizer, wash your hands as often as possible. The pandemic is still here and the numbers are still rising. And part of the reason why the mask mandate was required as well, considering the jump in cases, is that the age demographic of the cases has changed. Previously, prior to the state of Florida reopening, we were hearing of the cases happening in residents ages 65 and older. That was the more vulnerable population. However, after reopening, the more recent cases, the median age is 29. So it's striking folks that are a lot younger. And county health officials are actually reporting that at least 150 of those cases are linked back to the University of Central Florida. So you heard us reporting previously about college campuses reopening and some students starting to contract COVID-19. We mentioned 3 UCF football players had actually tested positive for COVID-19 last week. So you'll continue to hear more stories like that. But for now, just hold on. We're going to take a quick commercial break and bring you a couple of non-COVID-19 stories. We'll be right back.
All this time we fought side by side. We trained together. We lost together. And now, you're the only one standing in my way. It's been a while, old friend.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. Thank you for sticking with us. Now, jumping over into a non-COVID-19 U.S. story, given that today is Juneteenth, there are bipartisan bills to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, both just so happening to be folks from the state of Texas, which was the first state to recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday. So in the Senate, Texas Senator John Cornyn, who's a Republican, announced Thursday that he plans to introduce a bill to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And over in Congress, on Monday, Texas Representative Sheila Jackson, who's a Democrat, she introduced a resolution to recognize the historical significance of the holiday. And the House resolution currently has 200 co-sponsors. So this is good news for folks who have been wondering about Juneteenth, what the significance was, why it was never recognized as a national holiday before. So at least now there's a little bit of momentum for those of you who have been wondering about that. And of course, you heard us talk about yesterday, Pharrell Williams joining with the Virginia governor in a push to make Juneteenth a state holiday. So this is a bit of an update nationally with regards to Juneteenth. So far, 45 other states and the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., have moved to recognize the day. So of course, a largely symbolic move, but at least now on a federal level, we're starting to see moves to where it'll be recognized as a national holiday. So continue to watch this space. We'll continue to keep you posted on that as well. Jumping back here to Florida in a non-COVID-19 story, but still related to race relations in the country, the University of Florida is actually choosing to now ban its Gator Bait chant because of what the president calls, quote, its horrific, historic, racist imagery. So for those of you who may not be familiar with history as it relates to Gator Bait, President Fuchs mentioned that he himself has not seen any racist undertones or anything like that. However, Ferris State University, just providing context, reported that during slavery and the Jim Crow era of the United States, quote, African-American babies were being used as alligator bait. That really happened, and it happened to real people. So UF President Fuchs was saying that he's committed to, take the university in a direction that fights against racism. So he's committed to removing monuments or namings that UF can control that celebrate the Confederacy or its leaders. That's one of the moves, in addition to banning the Gator Bait chant now, given the history behind that. And also, he admitted that there are agriculture operations where UF has used prison and jail inmates to provide farm labor, citing that, quote, the symbolism of inmate labor is incompatible with our university and its principles, and therefore this practice will end as well. So UF, is continuing to take some anti-racism moves, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated there as well, because there are many other entities and corporations that are starting to make changes where that's concerned. Now we're going to get into some more news, including business and entertainment, but for right now, we're going to take one more quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
how my hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
Welcome back, guys, to the Evening News Rundown. Thank you for sticking with us. Now, jumping into your business news for the day, McDonald's is actually going to hire over 260,000 workers for the summer. So huge news there for McDonald's and for anyone looking for work. And they'll be instituting several safety precautions in place, nearly 50 to be exact, including wellness and temperature checks, which should be very interesting and different for a fast food joint. They'll have social distancing floor stickers, much like we've been seeing in all of our supermarkets and the larger warehouse stores. And they're going to have protective barriers at order points to keep the customers and employees from spreading germs. So, McDonald's has already set aside $40 million in restaurant aid for owners and, franchisees that have been dealing with the financial impact of the COVID-19 lockdowns. So they're continuing their commitment to safety, as they mentioned in their statement. Now, jumping over to entertainment, for those of you who are Watchmen fans or have been curious to catch the show, now is the time to watch it, because HBO is offering the series for this weekend, for Juneteenth and over the weekend, for free. So beginning at 1 p.m. today, it already started. They've decided to run it all the way till June 21st for free. So if you've been curious to watch all 9 episodes, this weekend is your weekend to catch that. And by the way, if you binge watch it, you watch all 9 episodes, it's pretty much done there, because as of right now, they've mentioned that they felt that the ending was pretty conclusive. So there is no next season in the works yet. So if you're trying to catch up or you want to make sure you get the full story, watch all 9 episodes this weekend for free up until June 21st. So congrats to those who have been comic nerds and are enjoying the series so far, of course, starring Oscar winner Regina King. So we'll continue to keep you posted there too. We're going to take one more quick commercial break and come back with a little bit of sports news for you guys as we wrap up.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for continuing to tune in. Now, in our sports news, a lot of this is COVID-19 related because we've been receiving recent reports of folks testing positive. So we'll start with the University of Texas. 13 Longhorns, 13 football players have tested positive for COVID-19. They're now self-isolating, and 10 more players identified through contact tracing. They're in self-quarantine, but asymptomatic at this time, according to a statement from the university. In addition, 4 other players tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies, which of course we reported earlier this week. COVID-19 antibodies are a sign that someone has been exposed to the virus. So that's important information for the college to know. So this is as a result of 58 players, the team of 58 players who returned to campus initially last week to resume their training. So of course they're in self-isolation, and as most colleges are required to do, they'll have to do several rounds of testing after the quarantine, after their isolation, and make sure that they test negative, multiple times for them to be sure of their return. In other COVID-19 positive testing news, the National Women's Soccer League is reporting that one NWSL player has tested positive. It's an unidentified player. They've chosen to keep the player's name confidential, but of course, that player has now been in isolation, is now self-isolating. Thus far, all the other resulting tests are negative based on their contact tracing the people that the player was connected to. So that is a bit of good news there. And so far, as a result, no changes to the 2020 NWSL Challenge Cup schedule. So hopefully we continue to keep things that way. On the men's side, with MLS, Inter Miami CF, they're also reporting a player that has tested positive, chosen to keep the player's name unidentified as well. However, again, self-isolating. And this isn't the first MLS player to test positive, actually. He's the fifth Major League Soccer player to test positive. So 4 were asymptomatic. 1 did have mild symptoms, but thankfully none have required hospitalization. So the other teams that have, had players test positive was Atlanta United. They announced Thursday that one of its first team players tested positive. Fortunately, none of the additional staff did. The player was asymptomatic. 3 other MLS players, of course, that tested positive earlier. 1 was unnamed with DC United, and unnamed player with FC Dallas. And then the one player that was named, Kasper Prabilko, he's with the Philadelphia Union. He tested positive back on April 1st. But so far, this is player number 5 in the MLS that is test positive for COVID-19. So far, the expectation is that he will be okay and be able to return in time for the July 8th kickoff with the tournament at ESPN Wild World of Sports in Orlando. Now, in other COVID-19 news, we're going to jump back to the MLS in a minute, but in other COVID-19 news, we actually just received an announcement today that an assistant coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also tested positive for COVID-19. So again, we'll continue to keep you guys updated when we receive news and announcements like this. Now, jumping back to MLS very quickly, this was an important announcement with regards to Juneteenth. As of today, the Black Players Coalition launched today in honor of Juneteenth, and the MLS is supporting this coalition because the coalition is going to be an independent body it's comprised of MLS players, but it's an independent body that works alongside the MLS. So this is a statement that the MLS released in support of the Black Players Coalition, which says, quote, Major League Soccer proudly recognizes and supports the Black Players Coalition of MLS, a group of players who today, on Juneteenth, have established themselves as influential change leaders. The league looks forward to continued and long-standing collaborations with the Black Players Coalition of MLS through efforts aimed at developing the game in Black communities, prioritizing diversity, and addressing implicit bias through league-wide cultural and educational initiatives. So, congrats to the MLS and congrats to the Black Players Coalition of MLS, which in their statement, they said, quote, we pledge to help bridge the racial equality gap that exists in our league by lobbying for initiatives like implicit bias training, cultural education courses, and diversification hiring practices. Beyond addressing these overlooked systemic issues around soccer in the country, the BPC is committed to tackling the racial injustices that have prevented Black people from having an equitable stake in society. Among the many goals we will strive to achieve in our Black communities, some will include targeted spending, educational advancement initiatives, and mentorship programs. And in terms of putting their money where their mouths are, they've already started doing that. So far, the Black Players Coalition of MLS has secured $75,000 in charitable contributions by the MLS Players Association on behalf of the coalition. So congrats to the Black Players Coalition of MLS, and congrats to the MLS for coming alongside them on this momentous occasion of Juneteenth. But that does it here for us at the Evening News Rundown, guys. Again, happy Juneteenth. If you haven't yet, be sure to like us on Facebook. You can find us there at Florida National News, at FNN News Live, and at FNN News TV. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. You can find us there at Florida National News, and be sure to subscribe by clicking, and also click the bell to make sure you get all notifications for all of our shows. Now, the reason you heard me do so much sports news this go round was that our beloved Casey, she couldn't be around today. So we wanted to pack a little bit more sports news in her honor. She will be back on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And as a reminder, be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. for Jenny Rosario de Casiano's Entertainment Buzz Live. It's a special episode. So she'll be interviewing actor and model Darren Ferraro. So tune into that interview. It'll be great. This gentleman is a child actor, so he's been in the industry for a very long time. He has a very extensive story, so that looks to be exciting. And by the way, for those of you who are on Instagram, we're on Instagram as well. So you'll find us there at Florida National News over there as well. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Friday, a great weekend, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Take care.